Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. My name is Jeffrey Davis. I am CEO of Mage LLC, a management consulting firm dealing with organizations in transition and the development of leadership and organizations. And every week we like to talk to Mark Furman, director of Tarlow, Hart Rodgers, a law firm in downtown Boston, about litigation and entrepreneurship. Welcome back, Mark.
Hi, Jeffrey. Great to be with you.
Same to you, Mark. Nice seeing you again this week. Just like our other regular reporters. There's a lot of change going on in the workforce.
As Bob Dylan once said, the times they are changing, and certainly the world of business is going through enormous changes as a result of COVID. And as we now get into more and more people being vaccinated, we come into the question of, what is a business going to look like? What an office is going to look like? Is there going to be a hybrid model? Is everybody going to be back at their office every day the way people used to work? Are people going to be in their cars and on planes traveling to see clients, or are things going to continue to be remote, at least to some extent? Hybrid models, certainly a possibility, but I'd say 10 months ago, people were thinking, well, we'll get beyond this and then the world will return to normal. Now that we've been doing this for a year, I have not been in my physical office for a year today. Right. And yet I've learned that I don't need to be there to be productive, to do good work for my clients. And, the courts have made a shift. All the court hearings are now on Zoom. And I expect that to continue, certainly for the rest of this year. I don't see any trials of any of my civil cases this year. And, but almost everything other than a trial can be done by Zoom. There are Zoom arbitrations. Zoom mediations are great. So you ask yourself, okay, what's the advantage? And there are some. And I think this, COVID has impacted people so differently, so unequally. Certain businesses have been devastated, and other businesses can carry on remotely very, very well.
Mark, I have clients that were considering new offices or getting rid of their offices. Now they want to scale back and have small offices because they want meetings, and there's debates. It's created a big debate within the company, how many people are coming back. I've heard of people saying they don't want to go back, people wanting people to go back, because if we have a herd situation where there's no reason not to go back, it's hard for owners who their natural inclination is to see their workers regularly. I know for me, in the last 2 weeks, a couple of my clients have asked me for face-to-face meetings. The first time I did it, and then someone in their organization said to me afterward, that wasn't necessary. And I went, I know, I don't, so the next time someone asked me, I said, no, we're going to do a Zoom. And they said, well, they really wanted to do face-to-face. We did a Zoom. There was no issue with the meeting, but that wasn't even up for debate 30 days ago, 60 days ago. Now it seems that, how we're meeting is becoming a discussion, and, employers can put a little bit of pressure, not just on employees, but on people like you and me, and clients can. So I'm wondering, how that's going to affect people. Are employers going to get angry at their employees? Is it going to lead to potentially litigation? Just again, as usual, as the last year, everything's up in the air again.
Exactly. Well, I find there's a group of people who thrive working remotely, and they don't really miss they find the benefits outweigh the burdens. And, because of technology, the ability to do this remotely, the ability to do everything remotely. But I also hear people complain to me about how isolated they feel and how they're so zoomed out. Um, I'm not one of those people, but I've talked to people who do exactly what I do, who can't stand it. So everyone is different. I'd say, people, it's been hard for a lot of people. It's been hard for a lot of people to be as productive because of their family circumstance. Um, but for many of us, in some ways, I feel more productive because I have found an hour and a half to 2 hours a day that I don't have to commute to work. So even if half that time is spent working, I've still found an extra hour a day for work-life balance, exercise and things like that. So I don't know, there's just the discovery that you can be productive, or at least some people can be productive, including myself, makes it possible to, you don't have to be, a short drive into the city or public transportation into the city. You can be really anywhere. If I was in California today, this would be no different, right? If I was in, name the state, name the country, really, I could be anywhere.
Well, maybe it's too much information. I've been prone to that through my career, but, I'm working, in Cape Cod. I've actually reversed my old schedule from pre-COVID. I know at times I'll spend my week at Cape Cod working, and I'll come back and spend my weekends back in my regular house. And I find it really kind of easier to work, although I am closer to the fridge. But I do think it's important to structure things right. And I have found that if I'm going to do 6-7 hours of Zooming, that I limit it, and I limit its time during the day within a condensed period, so that I get out, get fresh air, and exercise. I don't try to make, 7 hours of Zooms or 6 hours of Zooms into a 12-hour day, or it really does burn you out. So you do have to sort of constantly be restructuring your life and not asking an external to sort of dictate what's my rhythm. And I think employers need to understand that they need to understand their people differently, that if you start to create institutional pressure on people, you're going to have legal problems if you start forcing people to do things they don't want to do. I think people have discovered their individuality through COVID, and as long as you get your job done, that's all that really counts. Wouldn't you say
That's right.
that's true?
Yes. I mean, you talk about individual situations. I mean, people have religious beliefs. They have different medical conditions. They have different, there are people who's have immunity limitations and age differences. And so I do think it's not going to be one size fits all. And, some of the advantages of being together in an office, like we're open, even though I haven't been in there, but, the hallways are one way, and the use of the kitchen, there's no use of the kitchen now. And so, which is one of the natural meeting grounds for people to connect during the course of the day, getting a cup of coffee or whatever, or eating their lunch. Nobody's doing that now. And so,
But I actually think, even though you're, older than I am, that, this new work home balance can extend careers for people like you and I.
it
And I
can.
think people don't realize that. The fact that I can do this uh, will extend my career because I'm willing to work now. if I had to get in my car and drive 3-4 hours a day, which I did as a business advisor, I don't want to do that my whole life. And I'm sure for you too, this potentially can extend your career, which is good for your clients.
It is. It was nothing to, before this, to, have an early morning meeting, take a significant ride for that, then to come into Boston, then to drive out to court for a 2 o'clock hearing, then drive back into Boston, and then drive to an end of the day meeting, and then go home from there. I mean, the amount of time spent in a car certain days was astounding. And, I have cases where, I've commuted to, Chicago, Atlanta, and New York, and all over Massachusetts, certainly. And, a lot of those things now can just be done remotely.
Right.
It's really unbelievable. And
Well, it's like the Jetsons.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing you give up, I think, in terms of the court stuff is, when you're at the courthouse and you're, before your case gets called, and, you might get there early and you have an opportunity to connect with the other side and, maybe build some type of relationship that could be helpful in keeping the case moving productively, and maybe building up some credibility and trust that's critical as you try to work out issues and maybe settle the case. You lose a little bit of that when you only see them on Zoom.
But I can have more client contact now than before because I can see more clients. I can see more clients, speak to more clients, and communicate more often.
That's true. I agree with you on the clients. It's just, I deal with adversarial legal disputes, and having to build a level of trust with opposing counsel is part of what needs to happen, because you got to figure out who you can trust and who you can't trust. It's easier to settle cases with people you trust.
Right.
There's a whole lot of subtle and not so subtle signs you have to pick up on, and trying to move a case forward. So I think that's a negative, but the positives are enormous. I mean, to go to a court hearing, what it costs for me to go out to a court hearing in Chicago, for example, that can be done by Zoom, where I just log on 10 minutes before the court hearing, and there's no travel time, there's no air flight, there's no hotel. It's just,
I can't imagine traveling for business again right now. I wouldn't do
yeah.
it.
So I mean, I've had cases where I've taken, say, 7 trips for status conferences.
Ugh.
And now those could be, 45 minutes on Zoom versus traveling a long distance. I mean, even, where I work, going out to Worcester and back, that's an hour each way, plus waiting time. And
And for me,
so,
the speeding ticket.
right.
Mark,
So there's a lot of efficiencies, which I appreciate,
again,
certainly at this stage.
the world keeps changing, and we appreciate your keeping us informed on these things. And Mark, if someone's looking for you at Tarlow, Hart, and Rogers, how would they find you?
I can be reached at 617-218-2025 or at mfurman, Furman, at tbhr-law.com.
Well, thank you again. This is Mark Furman from Tarlow, Hart Rodgers. We like to think of him as our rock, and we're going to take a break. We'll be back after this short break.